Hey there, welcome to another Thursday night Blather live stream, whatever you want to call this. Greetings to the four people watching, you brave souls. I appreciate everybody, whether you're watching it live or later. Um, I was watching that timer, and with 20 seconds left, I had no idea what I was going to say. So let's wing it. The nature of blather is just to blather on. Back in 1978, I used to ride the subway to work. That it was hell. It was hell. Oh, by the way, yeah, this thing. Yeah, I got a haircut today, a beard trim. I got two choices in life at my age. I can either have a big ass ZZ Top beard, or I get this chicken shit thing on my neck. I hate both. What are you gonna do? Those are my two choices. Today I'm choosing the chicken neck thing. Anyway, yeah, 1978. I used to ride the subway to work. I remember this one time I'm riding the subway and I'm up there holding on to the thing and I'm rocking back and forth with the thing and I'm trying to make sure nobody grabs my little butt and all that kind of stuff. And I see this sticker or poster on the window, and it's a picture and it's a caption, and the caption says "Wanted for murder," and it was a picture of the Shah of Iran. This is 1978, mind you, and I noticed it. I didn't think too much of it at the time, but I'm like, why is there a picture of the Shah on the subway in New York? Why is he wanted for murder? Oh well, next stop is mine. Put it out of my mind. A year later, we know what happened in 1979. There was an uprising, revolution, whatever you want to call it. Iran became a theocracy under Ayatollah Khomeini, not to be confused with the guy who's out there now with the similar name. This was Ayatollah Khomeini. And Iran has a very, very long and rich history. The monarchy of Iran goes back to the days of Cyrus the Great, 500 BC. And by the way, let's get to the beginning of the connection between the Middle Eastern Jews and the Persians, because legend has it, or history has it, if you will, that Cyrus the Great is the one who liberated the Jews from Babylon and had them return to their homeland. In 1979, Iranian students had a rebellion, but of course there was more to it than just being students, because I don't think students can actually overthrow a government. But the Shah was in New York City getting cancer treatments, and Khomeini came back from exile, and basically the Shah was overthrown, and then a few months later, these same students took over the U.S. Embassy and took 66 people hostage. I was deeply, deeply, deeply concerned. That sounded like such a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. I did not want to go to war over the hostages. At the same time, I didn't want the hostages to be there. And I truly, truly believed, there was a whole. Keep in mind, Russia was still the Soviet Union, and they were a nuclear threat, and Russia was connected to Iran. And it was the first time in my life. I didn't know what was going on during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was 7, but in 1979. I was 25. I sure knew what was going on. And one thing that I really remember, I went to a Grateful Dead concert in San Diego that summer, or that fall, and I'm just sitting there thinking, here we are at a Grateful Dead concert. Everything seems so nice. It was a Saturday night because Bob Weir sang the words, "Get out that old Victrola, put on your rocking shoes," in the song "One More Saturday Night." And I'm thinking, how could everybody be so happy? The world's about to come to an end. I was terrified during that crisis. Then Jimmy Carter sent commandos there to rescue them. It was botched. It didn't work out. And then famously, a day before he was inaugurated, before Reagan's inauguration, the hostages were magically released, and that could be an entire episode on just how much of a conspiracy theory or factuality that was. But that crisis brought down Jimmy Carter's presidency for sure. I remember, I grew up in Bensonhurst, and I was living in Bensonhurst. So now it's 1979, and now I'm not riding the subway to work anymore. Now I'm driving a cab, and I'm living back in Brooklyn in Bensonhurst. Bensonhurst is kind of the Liverpool of New York City. Everybody just kind of says what's on their mind. I remember driving down the the uh, the road that's in between the Gowanus Expressway and the Verrazano Bridge, and one of the overpasses, there's these kids holding a big banner, honk if you hate Iran. And I hate to admit it, I honked. I was caught up in it. There was so much hatred, plus I wasn't really happy about the crisis that the hostage crisis, the energy crisis that it brought with it. I was driving a cab. I needed gas to earn a living. So I was pretty unhappy with all of it. So I honked. But I don't hate Iran. I didn't hate Iran then. I hated what was going on. And it's not as if there wasn't some cause behind it. The United States CIA was certainly complicit in the hatred that was turned our way. There was a coup in 1953. Before that, in 1941, the Shah's father, who was the Shah at the time, was exiled because it was determined that he was a Nazi sympathizer, and he was kicked out. His son, the Shah in question in 1979, came to power. 1953, there was some kind of dispute between the monarchy and a democratic emerging republic. I don't know the details, except that all parties seem to agree that the CIA orchestrated a coup, installing the Shah with absolute power. And he was on a path to setting Iran on a path to become a modern Western type state. And clearly the people of Iran were not ready for that. And the techniques he used were kind of oppressive. And there were riots, and the riots were put down, and people were killed. And it became a very authoritarian, and it was ugly. And eventually the Ayatollah took over, and Iran stopped being a secular country of Persians and became a theocracy under Sharia law. Now, let me just use a very tiny example of what differentiates Israel from the Iran that we've known for the last 1979 to now. You break the law in Iran, you break Sharia law, and you'll be killed, maybe tortured before you're killed. And that's for the crime of not wearing the proper garb, dancing in the streets, anything like that. Whereas, so Iran is clearly a theocracy, whereas Israel, people want to say it's a theocracy, it's a Jewish state, and maybe there is a majority of Hebrew people living in Israel. But if you don't keep the Shabbos in Israel, yeah, you might get a few of your neighbors giving you dirty looks, but that's about the extent of it. You are free to live as you will. And Israel's 20% Arab, and they serve in the Knesset, they're on the police force. Israel is an actual democracy as opposed to what's going on there. So we all know what's been happening. It's been so ugly. October 7th happened. So it doesn't seem to be any even attempt at an argument that Iran was behind October 7th. And it brings us to where we are now, because 10 minutes before I went live last week, I found out that Israel had bombed Iran. And I couldn't really cover it other than to say it happened. Well, now a lot more has happened. A lot more is thinking about happening. We got a 14-day thing going on, a 14-day ultimatum going on with Trump. Who knows where it's all going to be? We got the whole Tulsi Gabbard aspect of this. So let me pause for a minute and talk about the Tulsi Gabbard part. I went to a lot of Tulsi Gabbard rallies in 2019 and early 2020. And I'd say a dozen rallies, and I'd say in 12 out of 12 rallies, she spoke out against regime change war. So that Tulsi would seem to be very much against what is being contemplated, which is the overthrow of the Ayatollah and a regime change in Iran. However, in 2021, Tulsi returned from a deployment to North Africa where her unit was dealing with the threat of Al-Qaeda. And when she came back after her deployment, she made a statement which was that Islamism is the biggest threat to civilization today. So, oh, and she was slammed by that. So many of her supporters became former supporters. Oh my God, she's Islamophobic. Oh my God, she's racist. No, she was being real because Islamism is a very big threat. Ask anybody in Bangladesh. Ask a lot of people in Europe right now. Islamism, what I mean by that is the jihadism that calls for global intifada and really wants not just the Jews to be killed, but anybody who hasn't embraced Allah to be killed. The point being, I have nothing against people who practice Islam. I mean, a tremendous guest that I had 5 times on the Blathercast is a Muslim, a practicing Muslim with an amazing global perspective. I've played in many, many, many backgammon tournaments over the years. Sheshbesh is Persian for backgammon, if I'm not mistaken. It's a hugely Persian game. I got to know a lot of Persian people over those years. You know, it's all. This is not about the people of Iran. No, 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 no. It's not about the people of Iran. So anyway, I'm skipping all over the place. Back to Tulsi. So Tulsi says on the one hand that regime change war is out. She says on the other hand that Islamism is a threat to the civilized world. Then in March, she said that apparently she made a comment in her testimony in March 2025. I'm actually going to read you what Grok said about this because some people say it was taken out of context. This is a little bit lengthy, but I'm going to read you the answer. I asked Grok, my new best friend, was anything Tulsi said in March taken out of context? And here's the reply I got. Because to preface that, she said in March that Iran was not working on nuclear weapons. And I wanted to know if that remark was taken out of context. Because, you know, we had Trump saying, I don't care what Tulsi Gabbard says. Anyway, for one thing, that was said in March, and a lot could change between March and June. But anyway, back to Grok. So I said, Grok, dear Grok, was anything Tulsi said in March taken out of context? Answer by Grok. Yes. Tulsi Gabbard's March 2025 testimony before the Senate Intelligence Committee was arguably taken out of context by some media outlets and critics. In her testimony, Gabbard stated that U.S. intelligence assesses Iran as not actively building a nuclear weapon and that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, not Khamenei, has not authorized the nuclear weapons program suspended in 2003. However, she also highlighted concerns about Iran's unprecedented stockpile of enriched uranium and increasing public discussions in Iran about nuclear weapons, which could embolden advocates within the regime. Gabbard herself addressed this in June 2025 when responding to President Trump's dismissal of her assessment. She claimed the media misrepresented her testimony, insisting she and Trump were on the same page regarding the broader threat Iran poses, suggesting her remarks were not intended to dismiss concerns, but to reflect the intelligence community's current findings. Post on X and some opinion pieces have echoed this, arguing that selective quoting distorted her position to portray her as overly dismissive of Iran's nuclear ambitions. So Tulsi's in a bad spot. We're all in a bad spot. You know, there's this one guy who keeps hounding me, demanding that I give him an answer to, well, what would I say if I found out that Mossad knew all about October 7th? That's not the question. It really isn't. I'm tired of being asked that question over and over again. And I don't have an answer for that question. You know, there was clearly an intelligence failure, but not the point. There's only one point right now. And really, it comes down to one thing. Can Iran have a nuclear weapon? You know, would you, all 12 of you watching live, all the rest of you who'll watch this, the 40 or 50 people who watch the edited version of this later, would you feel safer if Iran was denied the privilege of having nuclear weapons? Now, we're up against a big thing. We're up against Iraq and what happened in Iraq. Because on my birthday, we invaded Iraq because weapons of mass destruction were clearly involved. So a lot of opponents of dismantling Iran's nuclear program, alleged nuclear program, basically refer to the mistake we made with Iraq, because we should not have invaded. It was a big mistake. We pay the price to this day. The damage to the economy is going to be felt possibly for generations. It was a huge, horrible mistake, and way too many people died. So was that a mistake we need to learn from? But the I don't know. I mean, just because a mistake got made in the past doesn't mean that the thought in the present isn't valid. There seems to be evidence. I don't know. So I'm just going to give my unfiltered, blathering opinion. I'm going to give my best case scenario and my worst case scenario. My worst case scenario is we go in there guns blazing, and it turns out that there were no nukes or no attempted development on nukes, and whatever follows. It won't be pretty. It won't be nice. And I hope that's not the case. Best case scenario, in my opinion, and I'm not a military guy, I don't know anything about any plans strategically. This is just if I was if my solipsism was real and I'm actually the only person in the world and I get to decide what happens next, what would happen would be United States stays out of it for these 14 days Trump is talking about, and during those 14 days, the Israelis are able to acquire Iran's unconditional surrender. And then the Israelis go in there with commandos, with the blessing of whoever's taking the place of the Ayatollah. And they go in there and they safely as they can, dismantle this thing that's 300 feet behind Solid Mountain. There's a lot of in-between scenarios. One of them includes the United States lending a B-2 bomber to Israel, which apparently only a B-2 bomber can carry these bombs that are capable of getting into that mountain. The then here's a question for you. I dare say a B-2 bomber is a little bit complicated to operate. So we lend them a B-2 bomber and give them some of these MOABs, these bunker buster bombs. I can only guess that somehow there's been secret training going on, because you don't just say, here's like a unique bomber, go use it and strike a Star Wars level precision target on the Death Star. So there's a very likely scenario that the United States goes in there and bombs. I think it seems most people agree that we don't want American boots on the ground, and I certainly can agree with that, because regime change wars, they don't tend to work out. But at the same time, and I know that some people disagree, but I think most of the people in the Blatherverse will agree that an end to this regime in Iran could bring about a golden era in the Middle East. The Abraham Accords will be that much closer. I dare say that a lot of these Arab countries who are saying that they condemn Israel's attack on Iran are secretly, saying hell yeah, because their lives didn't get better. There's so much wrong in the world right now that could be traced to Iran. And again, please, my Persian friends I play backgammon with, my Persian friends that I never met living in Iran under this oppressive regime. This has nothing to do with you. The Israelis are saying all along, this is not about the Persian people. The Persian people, again, the Persians are the ones who liberated the Israelis from the Babylonians 2,500 years ago. And by the way, for those of you who think that Israel has no ancient connection to the land, talk to Cyrus the Great sometime about what was going on 2,500 years ago. But we're not even going to go there right now. What I do want to do is I want to hear from a person, and I want to thank Ellen from Brooklyn for supplying me with this video. So let me share this, and let's hear what somebody inside Iran is saying.
In these moments that the criminal anti-Iranian regime of the Islamic Republic shooting missiles to Israeli civilians to kill Israeli people, and at the other side, IDF is targeting military sites and the terrorist places. I want you guys to know that people of Iran are with you. We understand your pain and suffering because we ourselves, we are at war with this regime for 46 years, since 1979, when they have occupied our country with the help of their international partners. I just want you guys to know that there are words, there are things that cannot be explained with enough words, because also so much emotions are going on. But please know that our brothers and sisters in Israel, we are with you. We love you. You see the videos that's coming out of Iran when Israel targets the terrorist places and kills heads of the IRGC terrorists. People are celebrating. They are happy. In what country people would be happy if that regime, that government would be from the people of that government, that country? So it shows a lot, right? And also I hear sometimes that, why you Iranians rise up, come on, finish them, finish the job. The regime, please, people, please know that the regime is highly mobilizing their militant terrorists to the streets only to control any possible uprising. People have gave so much blood. Everyone have someone in jail or somehow is affected by the regime. They are controlling everything and people are ready, but this time they don't want to come again to the streets and be killed, and the West censor them, and from the other side some fake opposition or separatist terrorists, MEK terrorists, will censor them and make their own narratives in the Western media. Really, it's important, and that's why people are preparing for the right moment. I know that you might think this is the right moment, and this might be soon, very soon, but it's coming. Please trust us as we trust you. We love you, and know that in those moments that you are in the shelters, our thinkings are with you. We ourselves are hostages of this regime and their allies for so long. The IRGC, which means the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, there is no name of Iran in it. Islamic Republic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They are with the Khamenei regime. They are the core of terror. And, you know, William Shakespeare said, there is no darkness but ignorance. And unfortunately, so much ignorance going on at the moment in higher political levels, especially in the West, which we love the West. It's not a criticism like the Hamas supporters who hate the West and they are free to maneuver in the West and nothing touches them. It's just we are only talking and saying that the Western intellectuals, politicians who have insisted on without any reason negotiations and diplomacy with these terrorists, they must and finally come to this decision that negotiations is not possible, and they should support the Iranian people and Iranian opposition. And everything is clear. Iranian opposition have a leader. People of Iran love him. There is administration, there is programs for quickly rebuilding a good relation with the West, and everything is clear. So remaining of ignorance only depends to them. Sorry, I'm very emotional now, cannot talk a lot. Just wanted to say that we people of Iran are with you, we love you, and we really hope that soon this regime falls and our country is free, and our both country and the free world, we can join everyone and live in peace and harmony. Thank you. I'm Israel Chai. I'm Iran Chai. Long live freedom. Thank you.
Wow. So that was a man talking from Iran. Boy, I'm sure that he'd be in pretty big trouble if the IRGC came to get him. You know, there's a lot. The closing line of one of my favorite rock and roll songs is "Meet the new boss, same as the old boss." Well, I really hope that's not what happens, because whatever comes next is going to be very, very important. And this guy referred to the notion that there's a new leader that's at the head of the overthrow committee, or whatever you want to call it. I've seen a lot of posts about the son of the Shah, who is 64 years old now, and he's been in exile all this time, about him coming back. I'm not sure what leader he's referring to. I don't know. I don't know what comes next, but personally, this is only my own opinion. And if you disagree with me, hit me up, make a comment here, send me an email, send me a message on Twitter. But my own opinion is this is the time. If this Ayatollah stuff isn't done away with now, if Iran is not rescued from being an oppressive theocracy, if the women of Iran aren't liberated now during this phase of time, it's not going to happen during my lifetime, that's for sure, and likely won't happen during any of your lifetimes, although I hope all of you live a nice, long, happy life. But this is it. This is the moment. This really is the moment, for right or for wrong. If they don't find evidence of actual nuclear war development, that is, well, for lack of a better way of putting it, that would be really, really bad. So, but on the other hand, I'm not a fan of, if we go in there with the bombers and we blow this thing up, I mean, the radiation from that, if it's real, it's going to be pretty intense, and it's going to not just affect Iran, which we don't want it to affect the population of Iran anyway. So that's why my best case scenario is unconditional surrender, followed by a commando raid, unopposed, because they've surrendered, and they go in there and they dismantle this thing as safely and thoroughly as they can, and maybe, I don't know, bury it so it can never be dug up again, whatever. But I do feel I feel a tremendous kinship with the people of Persia now, people of Iran. I'm not sure there's anything else to say about it at this point. I went on, like I said, I went on live 10 minutes after finding out the attack had happened, and I've spent wow, it was kind of amazing few days. I mean, before I go to bed at night, wake up in the morning, there was new stuff happening. Today, the Iranians, I'm not going to say the Iranians, the Islamic regime, that's what we call them, the Islamic regime, Islamist, I'm going to say Islamist regime. They bombed an Israeli hospital. Israel's going after military targets. These people are going after civilian targets. That by itself, I'm enough of a sinner for many, many decades that I can't make judgments about good and evil. But since I'm the blathering boomer, I'm going to go ahead and make one. I do believe that if one side is targeting military, and nuclear facilities, and the other side is going after, civilian populations. And by the way, all the stuff in Gaza, I don't want to get into a whole discussion about that, but it's not the intent. It's the collateral damage and what happens when you have human shields. There are no human shields in Israel. They bombed a hospital. Iran, the Islamist regime is guilty of so many war crimes, including October 7th, including funding and supporting October 7th. It's time for them to go. You got to go. You got to go. It's time to go. But there is a little bit of good news today.
As Tenafly welcomes home 21-year-old American-Israeli Adon Alexander.
Nice to see you. Edon. Oh, man. There he goes, Martha. He is back in his hometown of Tenafly, New Jersey. Right in that car, driving by. As you see, the streets are lined with his friends and family. Just a celebration of love. Families have come out here together. There are so many signs saying, "Welcome home, Edon." Israeli flags, American flags. The alliance not only playing out in the Middle East, but obviously you see here just a really special moment for everybody here in Tanafly, a small town, 15,000 people.
Wow. I'm not going to say anything like if I just spent over a year in captivity, the last place I'd go is New Jersey. I'm not going to say that. But he ends up in New Jersey. You know, hey, he'll love New Jersey now. I guess a lot of people do. The pizza's not bad there, but the point being that this never should have happened. This shouldn't have been hostages, and him being an American hostage doesn't make him any more important than any of the other hostages from all around the world. By the way, these are not just Israelis. These are not just Jews that are captured and tortured and held in captivity, and at this point mostly dead. You know, so welcome home to him, and I'm glad his ordeal is over. Okay, let's see what else I got this week. Oh yeah. So last week, I showed a little one particular highlight of the ice riots that were happening because people were stopping traffic, and it wasn't always kind of an okay thing to do. So let's refresh your memory and play this again.
No, it's not. How do you like white people feel about stopping a black woman from going to work?
Oh no, not work. I care so much.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to work? Look at this line that you guys are causing. I'm not causing no problems. I'm not trying to. We're just trying to leave.
So that guy, that guy. Okay, so there's a follow-up. I rarely have follow-up. There's actually a follow-up because we know who he is. Look at this. The work, oh no, guy, Trevor Britbeck got $115,000 from New York City for alleging he was injured at a BLM protest. And there he is in a suit, but he still got that old man bun, $115,000. And clearly it is part of why he goes Maynard G. Krebs when somebody says the word work. Though showing my age, but that was a Dobie Gillis reference. What else do I even have this week? Oh yeah, so Greta, and I can't believe how many people still take her seriously. She gets on this thing. She gets on the boat, the yacht, whatever. They're gonna break the blockade, and they're bringing several 500 pounds of flour, whatever it was, to Gaza. They're gonna break the blockade. They call themselves the Freedom Flotilla, whatever. So what happens? Predictably, they enter Israeli territorial waters, or maybe they don't. Maybe it was in international waters. I don't know. I haven't even bothered to find out. I don't think it matters. But they got picked up by the IDF, and they got the boat was captured. And they got taken back to Israel. And there's that famous picture of them giving Greta a sandwich with her having the big smile on her face, and they wanted them to watch the 45-minute video of Hamas recorded footage of what happened on October 7th. Greta refused to watch it because she didn't want to watch Israeli propaganda, even though it was filmed by Hamas, our heroes. And then, but let me say this about that. This was absolutely, by far, with no close second, the best outcome those people on that boat could have hoped for. Personally, I thought they should have let him through and go into Gaza. But let me try to spin another scenario. Let's say Israel was in the hands of Hamas, and some people decided to go there, and Hamas had Israel blockaded and was actually keeping aid from going in. Unlike now, when aid is actually going in, if they were actually keeping aid from going in, and some do-gooders decided to break the blockade, go in and bring some flour to the people of Israel being blockaded, held hostage by Hamas. And they were picked up by Hamas. Do I even need to finish the thought of what would have happened to these people? And again, even now, even though they're Hamas supporters, Hamas still would have killed them. Absolutely. I don't see any way they would have gotten out of Gaza alive. So Israel saved their lives. in Colorado, back in 1994. I was on the street corner, and this 2-year-old, the younger brother of my 2 children, through their mother's next marriage, we were standing on the street corner waiting for the light to change, and the 2-year-old stepped off the curb right in the path of an oncoming vehicle. And without even thinking about it, I grabbed him, picked him up, and pulled him back to the curb. And his reaction, he screamed at me. Ah! I saved his life, and he screamed at me. Now, I don't hold that against him. He's like a nephew to me. I don't hold that against him. You know why I don't hold it against him? Because he was 2, and all he knew is that somebody grabbed him. These people on this boat are screaming like that 2-year-old. They just had their lives saved. I'll repeat that. Israel saved your life, Greta. They saved your life. But in the end, I guess they were wrong, because apparently life is very cruel for Greta. And when she was sent back to Sweden, which is where she's from, deported, you might say, well, here's what happened. Poor Greta. Oh, yay, there you go, Greta. Okay. Yeah, and of course, most of you get the sandwich reference. All right. Just one last thing. And again, did I find it? I think I found it. Yeah, let me read out loud what Grok said about Cyrus the Great and the Persians and the Jews and the Babylonians, which went like this. I asked if Cyrus the Great actually liberated Jews from Babylon, and the answer I got was, the answer was yes. Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Achaemenid Persian Empire, is widely credited with liberating the Jews from Babylonian captivity around 539 BC. After conquering Babylon, Cyrus issued a decree recorded in the Hebrew Bible, Ezra 1:14 and Chronicles 36, blah, 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 allowing the Jewish exiles to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple, which had been destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar in 588 BC. This decree is also supported by the Cyrus Cylinder, an ancient artifact that describes Cyrus's policy of allowing displaced peoples to return to their homelands and restore their religious practices. So, I just have one last image, because before I went on in the 10 minutes I had to find out what happened, all I heard of substance was that the Israelis were calling this Operation Rising Lion. And the image I got there was that this Israel was the lion, gaining strong, doing this and doing that. No, actually, it's a much more obscure reference. I'll close Greta there. And let me show you what the real meaning of Operation Rising Lion is, because here is an actual Persian flag. Notice the lion. Today's Islamic Republic flag do not have that lion. So Rising Lion means, in terms of the meaning of the Operation Rising Lion, a return to Persia actually being for Persians and not being the Islamist Republic. I'm a big fan of secular nations, which is one of the reasons I support Bangladesh, by the way. And again, Israel is not a theocracy. Break Jewish law in Israel, and the worst thing that might happen, people might shake their head at you. I don't think it'll even go that far. People are very accepting. Israel's a very inclusive country. I don't know why it's called a Jewish state, other than its roots in 1948, where the Jewish refugees needed a place to live, and they went to their ancient homeland, as acknowledged by Cyrus the Great. Yeah, there's a popular account on Twitter called Red Pill Media. Now, from the name Red Pill Media, one would think that is some kind of right-wing Republican thing. And here's a post from them. It's pretty bizarre. I mean, look at that. You have Hitler and JFK with the caption, "They died trying to end Jewish supremacy. We will avenge these heroes." That doesn't sound like something a Republican would say. Well, further investigation not done by me, but by people who know a lot more. Katya Sedgwick posted it, and a lot of people are saying it. This account makes no sense. This account makes no sense until you realize it's run by a Pakistani. So there's some misinformation for you. Red Pill Media has been exposed. They're not happy. They're reacting to it. All right. I'm sure there's much more to get to. I'm sure there is, but I'm exhausted, and I'm nervous about what's coming. Oh, and by the way, I'll tell you what's not coming. Next Thursday, I got to pick up some precious cargo at LAX. That's going to interfere with my time slot. I'm going to try to record something during the week and present it at my normal time next week. I'm not going to try. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I won't be live next week, but I'll be on next week at the usual time with tidbits that I gather during the week. And then the following Thursday, well, the doctors are going to slice that, and I'm a little bit worried because not a skin graft, but a cartilage. Is that how you say it? Cartilage, not Carthage. Cartilage, a cartilage graft, which means they're planning on going pretty deep into this thing, and we'll see. I'm ugly enough as it is, although I do look a little prettier with this if you don't count this shit. The chance of me being ready to go blather that night is very, very slim, but you never know. You never know. If I could talk, I will speak. Is that how you say it? If I could blather, I will blather, or this and all that. You know what? I'm running out of things to say. Thank you so much to all 16 of you watching. Thank you to the few dozen who watched the edited version of this, and thank you to the possibly thousands who will see the 1-minute clips I draw from this if I find that I actually said anything worth a 1-minute clip. But again, it's precious to me, the people who watch this live, and it's precious to me, the people who have the patience to wait for the edited version. It takes a day or two for it to be processed before I could edit. That's just a YouTube thing. And Kate, thank you for tuning in. I know Kate and I disagreed on something last week. And Kate, by the way, this is really embarrassing, but I think I know you in real life. I'm not sure. You don't need to reveal your identity here, but please send me a direct message at UNG714, Ugly Nasty Guy 714. Either I know you in real life or you've been so loyal to this show, and it really means a lot to me that you're watching tonight and that you're commenting, because I know you and I disagreed about how I treated Gabor Mate last week. So gratitude for you. Okay. Once again, thank you to all watching, all who will watch, blah, 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 and the boomer has blathered.